Here's a live breakdown portion with Victor Scott II, center field prospect in the St. Louis Cardinals organization. Just finished up the interview. Really awesome podcast where, Victor, you talked about so many intriguing things and just interesting things about your journey, and I can't thank you enough for that. Can't thank you enough for hanging on a little bit extra here and breaking down your swing, breaking down some catches, breaking down some base running. This is going to be the most, I think, versatile live breakdown we've done so far with all the different ways you can impact the game. So I appreciate you hanging on a little extra, man.
I got you, sir.
So we're going to start with the swing. And we talked about this on the podcast a little bit, where you used to have your hands kind of set up in front of you, maybe not as in your legs. And now you've talked about simplifying the moves, kind of starting with the bat on your shoulder and kind of getting it back with a simple move and just being athletic. But knowing more about what you're trying to do, keeping the bat in the zone, all that good stuff. This was a video we got of your home run. This was 107 pull side. But I'd love for you to just kind of talk about kind of what you have found in your swing and what you've been trying to do with those improvements and how it's helped you kind of make a big leap this season.
Got you. So I'll start kind of from the ground up because that's kind of how I think about the swing. So like in the swing, it's a pretty simple, it's like a no stride kind of deal, but like my foot is like almost like pivoting. So my front foot will pivot. And then I have like a little kind of internal hip rotation, like which engages my backside. And then with me, I'm kind of like the best athlete whenever I work in like smaller spaces. So with that being said, I can generate a lot of force like within a small window. So kind of having like a leg kick for me might throw me like a little bit off time. So that's why I have like a kind of like a foot pivot. And then you got like the backside will launch into the front side, which is like that good kind of gas to break, which everyone has in their swing. And then I'm a pretty good like rotational based athlete. So I'll be able to kind of accelerate into the ball, which is kind of vital as you talk about like power and output numbers. And then kind of like working up into the upper half, creating good angles to hit in. So if that ball was up, you would kind of see like almost two like L's, which is the power L's is what I like to call it. But you'll see that. And then with this pitch kind of being down and in, you kind of see like my backside connect, and then it'll drive. My back knee will almost drive to the location of the pitch. So, which also helps me kind of stay on plane with the pitch as well.
So you talked about kind of that rotational power and being able to kind of get that momentum going, but how do you balance that from maybe not spinning off and also not having a premature forward move? Because you talk about the backside, you stay in it well, and then you have that kind of transfer through, but it's so common to kind of lose that backside, kind of drift forward or spin off of it as a rotational guy like that. How did you kind of find that ability to stay in your backside and also not get, too spinny either?
It's just kind of like knowing like the feel of what it feels like to kind of remain on your backside, but also transfer energy into the ball. Mm-hmm. So like in this setup, I go from like a 50-50 weight distribution to then like a 60-40 weight distribution on the backside. And then it goes back to a 50-50 at contact, but it never goes to a 60-40 front side, which is when you talk about like those energy leaks and guys losing power as they make their move to the ball. Mm-hmm. So kind of having that backside engaged always helps me A, stay grounded, and B, make better pitch selection decisions of like what I'm swinging at in the zone or out of the zone.
And I mean, that one you were all over, and it seems like you got no problem being able to kind of drop the head on those pitches inside. I've seen you hit those pitches out as much as any. And we'll get to one of those here. So we're going to do kind of an A-B breakdown here, where we'll start with another homer pull side. But I like this one because I just want to kind of hear your approach and what you were thinking here as we go through this at bat. Because the first pitch is fastball misses up. And next pitch, I believe, misses down and in. Yeah. So you've got up and then down and in. You're ahead 2-0. We were talking about knowing your zones and kind of where you want to attack and what you want to do.
Yeah.
What's your approach here? Because this pitch that you end up hitting is like not an easy pitch to hit out. It is if you're looking for it and you're a really good hitter. But what was your approach after fastball misses up, fastball misses in, and a guy's trying to find the zone here?
So with this guy, I kind of knew beforehand, okay, he throws it well, has 2 secondary pitches that are both coming into me. So when guys are kind of like that, I know unless they're trying to backdoor things, which will be on the scouting report, then I'll know that. But I know this guy is trying to either come across the plate or come into it. So with that being kind of known, the first miss of that 0-0 count where he threw it fastball up, he's not necessarily trying to do that. So he missed up there. I took, and then the next pitch he was trying to do that, but missed a little bit too much in. So now I know I'm in an advantage count, and I know he has to come across the plate in order to kind of get himself back into the chess match. The chess match at this point. So I'm just sitting on anything kind of on that inner half and just trying to make sure that I'm not late and that barrel is out in front of me on this in pitch.
So, and like you said, if he does, one backs up on him or fastball runs away, you're kind of just giving him that outer half up 2-0.
Especially in an advantage count, unless I just see it that well where I can hit it that way. But in this case, I'm not going to say I knew where he was throwing it, but I knew like kind of what his plan was going to be.
And you don't miss it. And this is kind of what you're talking about, is that the zone where, if you had to set up a pitching machine, said hit a home run and, you win $1 million, are you looking kind of in that location? Because it just seems like, that one's a little bit elevated, of course, but just middle in, it seems like you do so much damage on pitches that maybe even are a little bit further inside than middle in. You seem to have a lot of comfort just lifting and doing damage from there.
Yeah, it's just kind of understanding like the line drive approach and what that means, because this ball is actually a line drive.
Yeah.
It just happened to get out. So to me, was I trying to hit a home run there? No, not necessarily. I was trying to go off that central sign as a line drive. It just happened to go a little bit over. But so normally for me at least, home runs are accidents. Like I'm just trying to hit a line drive, have a balanced approach in that regards, and just trying to get on base. But if it happens where I elevate it a little bit, hey, so be it.
Hey, we'll take it, right? So one more here where, as we talk about ABs, or is this the same one? This is the same one. Hold on.
The pitch, it is strike on the outside
edge. That's a stolen base. Excuse me here. Just got a lot of different videos to sort through, but there's another one in terms of an AB where that I was excited to get into. Here it is. 1 second here. Where you basically go the other way, and you've talked about being able to comfortably get to pitches the other way, know what you can do with pitches on the outer half. And I thought this was an interesting at bat in general, because I'd love to know what your approach was. I think I know, given what your easy takes on balls running the other way and then what you ultimately do. But with one of the foul balls here, I just kind of would love for you to walk us through this at bat, because first pitch misses out, easy take. And then I'll just kind of leave the floor to you here.
Okay. So see. Got a first pitch ball on the outer half, and then go second pitch ball. So at this point, he's kind of looks like he's struggling to throw a strike. So, but it looks like he's trying to target the outer half. So now I kind of know what his plan is, or at least what he's trying to do.
So 2-0 there. Again, this guy was getting like 16. I was looking like 16, 17 inches of horizontal. Like it's definitely running the other way. What are you looking for there? Because it's kind of a different situation. Everything's running away. 2-0. You're in an advantage count. You want to try to do some damage, or at least find a ball that you could just drive for a hit. Did this end up running more than you thought, or is this kind of what you were looking for and you thought you could shoot it the other way, which you spoiler alert, you end up doing, but on this pitch you do not. Were you looking for something a little bit more middle end that just ran a bit more?
Not necessarily. I was looking for that pitch. I just ended up missing it. Because I remember I swung at this and I was like, that was a good swing. So like I'll tell myself, if I felt like it was a good swing, like if I would have hit that ball, it probably would have went in the left center gap. So I'll tell myself like good swing, and then like as I can see like with this pitch, like I can see like my chest is over the plate, meaning that like with that pitch I would have driven that to the opposite field.
So was it just timing that kind of left you just a bit late on it? Or like, so if it's good swing, you just felt like you were just a little off? Was it path, or what are you kind of recalibrating here for the next pitch where you end up recalibrating well?
It was just pretty much, I would say, partly timing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I may have been like a tad or a tick late, but I think I told myself to maybe start a little bit earlier and then also put my head on it just a little bit more.
And that's exactly what you do here. If anything, you might have been a little early, but you're able to stay back through it and drive it the other way. And clearly your head's on it. What was the, like, basically that's all you were able to do in terms of that's all you needed to do to be able to recalibrate and shoot this ball the other way. It almost looks like a better pitch. It probably was a better pitch, a little bit further down and away, tougher pitch to hit.
Yeah, it's just the chess game, man, honestly. Just being able to make like those simple adjustments, pitch by pitch, and like especially with the time clock, there's less time to think about that adjustment. So actually, once you make that swing, man, and you reset yourself real quick, you kind of have to know like, okay, I made that swing. This is how I adjust now. Let's move on. So that's essentially what I did here.
You did it well. And now moving on to base stealing real quick. I mean, you get a huge lead, and I know that that's something that like you know your exact limit, right? And you just know exactly how far you can push it. But also the jumps are really interesting because you talked about it on the podcast a little bit of like some of the little tells that you're looking for and things like that. Can you kind of just put a listener or viewer here like into your mind, like what's going through your head right now? You're obviously every time you're on first, you're ready to go. But what are you looking for? Is you try to get a jump on a guy that you probably haven't seen on the mound much at all. As we were talking about, like a lot of these guys, you're not playing them a week straight like you do in the regular season.
Yeah. So like with new guys out here in the fall league, normally I just try to pick up or look at one specific thing, because if I look at the broad image, I'll be a little bit later on my jump. So like here, I'm going to look at like his back, almost like his back hip, because like previously looking at him, I can kind of see like how his back hip turns and like gets in his internal rotation before he picks up his leg to kind of promote his power output towards the plate. So I was kind of picking up on that as I, am about to come to bat, and then like throughout the game. And then now you'll kind of see like by the time I notice his hip coil, then that's when you see the first step.
Yeah.
So
you're pretty much going while his foot, like in almost simultaneously when his foot lifts up, which means you have to be looking at something before that. Are you always, even when you're not on base, even when you're not at the plate, you're basically looking for ways to gain an advantage when you do get on base for these pitchers? Like you're looking for tells, even when you're not at the plate or on the bases, between innings, whatever it may be. When you're between at bats, you're always looking for tells.
Essentially, it's just being a student of the game. Like, so even if I have off days, I'm kind of jogging, or not jogging, but like I'm in the dugout and I'm paying attention to like each pitcher, and maybe like, can I pick up on something that they're doing while someone's on base that'll help me out? Then I'll kind of share that information with my teammates. And then from that point on, it's just the speed point at that point. Those first 3 steps are huge. And then after that, it's like almost like a plane coming up and then landing in a neighboring city. So like the plane never gets up to like full extension, but it takes off and then comes down. So you never get up to like a long distance runner gets up to like their fullest height, but like a sprinter will get up to like their fullest height after 40 or 30 yards or so.
Wow. Okay. So you're always trying to stay low pretty much.
Yeah, you're always trying to stay low and essentially grab ground is pretty much what that term is used for.
And when you're getting that first step to like really explode, is it a small step with the lead foot with the right foot, or are you really pushing off more with the left foot?
I'm kind of pushing off more with my left foot, because that's kind of where you get that 1, 2, 3 kind of drive steps at.
And then the slide, I mean, you're in there easily. Going to now a steal of third base. I just like this one because we can see you. Is this just a guy just not looking at you, kind of like forgetting about you, and you feel like you can just go early? Is it also one of those where you had a good feeling you was going to throw a breaking ball, all of the above, or did you just get a good jump in general?
Here, so like normally you want to have like momentum going towards the plate, but he's a 1.5, 1.6 to the plate. So that's giving me, it probably takes me 2 seconds, maybe like I'll say probably about 2.5 to 3 seconds in order to steal a base. So if he's already a 1.5 and you're talking about the catcher with a great pop time being like a 1.8, 1.7, then
it's just a math equation at that point.
Yeah,
You're safe.
Yeah, at that point, it's just a math equation. Like my time to the base is going to beat their 2 times combined.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Are you looking at like a specific pitch to go though? Because it is 1-1 here. The math equation, you probably could have went on the 2 pitches before that too. When do you kind of pick your spot when you know, hey, this base is already stolen pretty much in your head? How do you make sure you go at the right time? Like,
yeah. So here is understanding if it's a lefty up, like understanding that catcher has an open lane. So he has a clear sight of me running. So he's like, he can see me, like, especially in this shot right here, he can see me running. So like, he already knows. But I think in this count, I'm not sure like what happened, but I just had like a feeling that he might be throwing a breaking ball here. And then especially with it being a 1-0 game, with me and on third now puts me in a position that if he puts anything in play, I can score unless he just hits like a rocket to somebody.
Yeah.
But I can pretty much I'm in a good position to score from right here, as I am for second, but especially early in the game, I'm in a good position to score.
And you put a little pressure on the catcher too, right? Because he knows if that ball kicks 10 feet away, you could be at home. So even that side of it too, it's just, again, what speed does. Speaking of which, we'll wrap up with just a little bit of defense here, because that's another part of your game, man, where of course you can fly, but it's not just about the speed. It's about the reads and routes. So I got one for you going back, one for you going forward, because you did both really well this year. Going back here, what amazed me, and I didn't have time to pull all of them and go through all of them, but the listeners or viewers can just take my word for it. You always seem to know where you're at going backwards. I know the warning track is there for a reason, but like still, not a lot of people. You don't really process a warning track when you're sprinting full speed watching a ball there. How do you always seem to know where you're at? Because again, it just seemed like you always were comfortable with, okay, I've got 2 more steps before the wall. You usually see a lot of guys jump a little prematurely because they think they're going to run into the wall. It just seemed like you always had an idea where you were at.
Yeah, it's just kind of like spatial awareness. So like where is your body in space? And there's actually ways to practice these things. So like visual acuity spatial awareness kind of happens in the mind pretty much. So testing like visual acuity would help. Things like standing on 1 foot, balancing, those kind of things just help with body's space in where it is in space. So like with going backwards, you kind of have to know how many strides does it take for me to get to this wall? Because no one wants to like fully flatline a wall. And then also like running back, finding the wall, and then refinding the ball is like huge. So like here, I kind of just know where I am. I think I took a quick look, maybe, but no, you just
knew that you knew. But yeah, that is something. We had Pete Crow Armstrong on, and another just phenomenal defensive center fielder that kind of said the same thing. But it's so hard to be able to run and then find it again. The other thing that I think people don't realize it is really tough, especially when you motor, but it's probably better because you're a bit softer on your feet maybe than some other guys. When you're sprinting like that, your eyes are moving a little bit, and you got to refine the ball with the eyes moving. How do you keep your head still when you're traveling that fast?
So like a lot of the times, like I'll either like open my mouth like slightly, because like with tension in the face makes the eyes focus. So the more that your face is relaxed, that's why you see like with sprinters like Usain Bolts and those 100-meter dash women and men, you see like how relaxed their face is. So if they're running like that, trying to catch a ball, the ball is gonna have a little movement. But like if they open their jaw, it allows the vision to focus. That's why like you'll see like a lot of outfielders also like chewing gum or like
You
sunflower
can see some
seed.
mouth guards. Yeah, some guys play with mouth. Harrison Bader plays with a mouth guard out there.
Mouth guard, because it allows the vision to kind of come to a focus point, which is pretty huge.
Yeah, the more you know. This is why I love doing these, because like again, you guys just open up a whole new world of things I had no idea about. But that makes sense, because that was something that I always used to think about, because when you're moving like that, those eyes got to be moving. Last catch here, and then we'll let you go. But this one coming in,
it's Gray.
Another just really good grab. Actually, this one's not coming in. This one's going out. Sorry, this was another example of kind of knowing where you're at, but it is impossible to know where you're at here, because this wall jets out diagonally and you make the jump, right against the wall. This was another one where it was like, I just couldn't really believe that, one, you were able to make the grab, because the ball seems to just kind of be floating into the gap there. But two, this is the most difficult spot to probably have spatial awareness in the entire stadium, because of the way the wall's angled in the center field, kind of left center area over there.
Yeah. This one, I definitely remember this one. I got a decent break on this where I was able to kind of get back to the spot. I would say that was pretty much the biggest factor in this catch, is getting to a spot to be able to know where I was with spatial awareness, because this is a new field. This is like, I think, our first time playing here that year or this year. And it was getting to a spot to be able to make this catch.
Yeah. So you dart back, just knowing you got to be back there. And then I think pick the ball back up and realize, okay, this thing kind of went left a little bit, or to your right a little bit. Regaining, like, so you go straight back. I mean, you're at the Shields sign there. How do you, at what point do you realize I got to go that way and be able to accelerate again, almost another direction? Like, that's refining the ball, as you're kind of talking about, but how difficult is that?
I would say like it's a pretty difficult thing to do. But if you are like, I train in the off season a lot on reacceleration and then deceleration, and then be able to create that energy again.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what is displayed here. I mean, because not every time is going to be it's going to be like a picture perfect fly ball where you're able to kind of like sometimes the wind may be a factor. So having that reacceleration, deceleration kind of principle in like worked on previously allows you to kind of make those in-game adjustments without being able to think about them.
Yeah. And thank goodness you were right there. You looked like you felt it a little bit laying out there.
I think that was my second catch, or like that I ran into the wall on that day.
It's funny. I heard the call. It's like, he did it again. I was like, oh, there's got to be another one. I wasn't able to dig that one up in time, but yeah, that's awesome. I don't know where I put the video coming inwards, but just to wrap up, how do you work on those reads kind of with balls going straight at you in center field? You know that you have the speed to come in and get them. You're always taught as an amateur, kind of freeze or first step back and come in. Is that kind of still the case for you, or can you play it a little bit differently, given that you have, this God-given speed and the closing speed and the explosiveness that you mentioned? Kind of what's your plan, I guess, on jumps when you have a ball that's rocketed and you're still kind of processing is it in front of me? Is it over my head? And going from there.
It's just repetition. Trying to like get whoever's hitting you fly balls or line drives or ground balls, whatever may be the case, to kind of give you different scenarios, because every ball is not going to be hit, like I said, perfectly. It's not going to be a perfect play. Like, those balls are probably the hardest ones to read. So like understanding what sound it has to have in order to kind of ignite you to go backwards or forwards, what kind of flight the ball has to have to prompt you to go backwards or forwards. Like, all those things play a factor. I would say like what I pretty much look at is, or I look at flight of the ball, as well as who's hitting it also means a lot. And the sound it made off the bat will kind of tell me everywhere I need to go. That's
crazy. Even we're working with sounds here. That's using all of the senses to get a good jump. And I mean, it's the little things that can make a difference when you're playing at the highest level for 162 and being able to go make the grabs that you make, dude. But I can't thank you enough for taking the time, both for the podcast side. For those that are watching this, definitely go check out the podcast side. Awesome interview, of course, with Victor Scott, who, if you couldn't tell from this, also very insightful on his entire journey and the things that worked out last year and just continuing to build off of that. But Victor, thanks so much for taking the time, man. Congratulations on an unbelievable year. And I'm just so pumped to watch what you're going to do this coming season and the rest of this fall league.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for doing this breakdown, man. This was awesome.
Appreciate it.